Welcome back, everybody, to Ein Sof Learning. This week's Torah portion is Terumah, which literally means offering, and it is found in Exodus chapter 25, verse 2. The people of Israel are called upon to contribute 13 materials, out of which God says to Moses, "They shall make for me a sanctuary, and I shall dwell amidst them." On the summit of Mount Sinai, Moses is given detailed instructions on how to construct this dwelling for God, so that it could be readily dismantled, transported, and reassembled as the people journeyed in the desert. In the sanctuary's inner chamber, behind an artistically woven curtain, was the ark, containing the tablets of the testimony, engraved with the 10 Commandments. On the ark's cover stood 2 winged cherubim, hammered out of pure gold. In the outer chamber stood the 7-branched menorah, and the table upon which the showbread was arranged. The remainder of the Parsha is about the instructions of building the Mishkan. So thank you to Chabad.org for their summary on this Parsha, and ChatGPT for their artificially generated images in helping to make this channel and these videos more visually appealing and entertaining for those that are watching. It definitely helps me to have some sort of a visual reference with the Parsha. Sometimes we read the Torah as a book of history. We forget that the events described in the narratives actually occurred, and not only that they are about the past, but that there are lessons in them for today. The narratives in the Torah are timeless truths. They are better understood as archetypes for future events and circumstances that befall every person's life. An archetype is a rule that is the same for every single human being, and it applies in every single different context and at every time, at all times. That's what an archetype is. It's something that is the same rules that governs human behavior for multiple people across cultures. So the Torah is an entire document that is full of archetypes. That means that every single character in the Torah, as well as every single object and event, etc., that occurs inside of the narratives of the Torah, have practical application in each of our lives across all different cultures and across all different contexts. That's what the timeless truth of the Torah really is. It's not bound to a specific time. It is not bound to a specific people even. Everybody experiences the events in the Torah. All you need is a set of eyes that are able to see how that the Torah actually applies in their life. But it's impossible that the Torah not be relevant in a person's life. All the details are always relevant. The only thing that we need in order to recognize that is the wisdom and the understanding and the knowledge, which means the learning of the Torah itself, to be able to see that that is the case. So at the end of last week's Parsha, Bnei Israel accepted the Torah with the famous words of Na'aseh v'nishma. That means we will do and then we will hear. So what does that mean? Famously, Na'aseh means that the Jewish people accepted to do the commandments and to follow the rules of the Torah. V'nishma, meaning that they accepted to perform these acts even before that they understood them, even before that they heard the meaning and the deeper understanding behind those laws and commandments. Because we saw the truth of God. We were standing at the bottom of the mountain and we witnessed Hashem's presence descend as a pillar of fire on Mount Sinai, and when Moses came down to relay all of the insights that he received while he was on the mountain of Sinai, we all responded with Na'aseh v'nishma, because we had already been convinced, we had seen the truth, we had been revealed the truth of God and His Torah, we believed in Moses, we believed in Hashem, everything was good. So we made a commitment in that moment to do all of the words of the Torah on an actionable level, even before we were explained the deeper significance of those laws. That's why the Jewish people are very action-oriented, if you've noticed, that they are usually always running around doing mitzvot, wrapping tefillin. If you look at Chabad, you'll notice that they have posts out on the sidewalk searching for Jews to fulfill the commandment of wrapping tefillin every single day, besides for Shabbat and the holidays. So, Na'aseh v'nishma means that we will do, and then we will hear. We will hear what? Nishma, the voice of Hashem. Because we say, Shamai Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God, the Lord is one. Why doesn't it say, see, O Israel? Or, I don't know, feel. It specifically says, hear, Shema, corresponding to this verse that we said upon witnessing the truth of Hashem, where we said, Na'aseh v'nishma, and we will hear. So, there is a certain sound, so to speak, that is related to the unification of Hashem. That's why it says, hear, O Israel, the Lord your God, the Lord is one. These three things are really one. And that's the secret of the oneness of God. What we call the unification of Chokhmah, Bina, V'da'at. Not to be misunderstood as the Christian Trinity. They actually, believe it or not, have stolen the idea of three becomes one from this deep Jewish mystical idea called the unification of Chokhmah, Bina, and Da'at. These three Sefirot, what most people refer to as the Godhead, the upper three faculties, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, which can be found in the head of a person. Those three faculties can unite to give you an experience of the unification of all reality. That's really what we call devikut, adhesion and cleaving, which is when you unite your wisdom, your understanding, and your knowledge to give you an experience of oneness, which is the truth of reality. The truth of reality is the oneness of God. So Moses ascends the mountain of Sinai for 40 days and nights to receive the Luchot Habrit, the tablets of the covenant. And the scene then shifts in this week's Parsha, where Hashem now commands Moshe to build the Mishkan. The Mishkan is a portable sanctuary where Hashem's presence dwells among the people while they were in the desert on their way to the promised land from the Exodus from Egypt. A few portions ago, God redeemed the people of Israel from Egypt, but He led them by way of the desert. And the last few portions, including this week's portion, including a couple future portions, they are spending the time wandering in the desert. And the people have been wandering, and they are wandering for years. Throughout all of this time, all of these events are happening. When Moses goes up to the mountain, comes back down, etc., they witness the truth of God. And Moses is teaching them the insights that he received from Hashem. So during their time in the desert, one of the things that God commands Moses is the instructions of how to build this sanctuary, that they would be able to construct this sanctuary in order for the presence of Hashem, what we call the Shekhinah, to dwell among the people of Israel. And then whenever they would move and continue traveling along their way in the desert, they would simply dismantle this sanctuary, travel to where they need to go, and whenever they set base, again, they reconstruct this sanctuary so that way the presence of Hashem could dwell with them as well in that state. So Hashem tells Moshe to begin collecting donations of various minerals and wools and dyes and wood in order to build this Mishkan. And it's interesting to note that the people from whom God commands Moses to accept these donations are from those who volunteer. It is not something that is commanded. Rather, it is set out on the table. We are looking for somebody, anybody among Israel whose heart motivates him to donate gold, silver, different types of color wool, different dyes, specific types of wood, various resources, 13 different ingredients in order to construct this tabernacle. And the instructions are extremely detailed. It's not like, make it the way you want, design it the way you wish. No. They were extremely detailed instructions of how Hashem wants this tabernacle to look. And the famous line from Exodus chapter 25, verse 8 appears in this week's portion. That they shall make for me a sanctuary, and I will dwell among them. When you construct this sanctuary, says Hashem, I will dwell among the people of Israel. Why doesn't it say, I will dwell among it? Meaning that Hashem's presence will dwell among the sanctuary. After all, that's the purpose of the Mishkan, a dwelling place for the presence of Hashem. But no, the verse doesn't say, construct the sanctuary and I will dwell among it. Rather, construct this sanctuary and I will dwell among them, in the hearts of each and every member of Israel who has constructed this tabernacle. And from here, it is revealed the secret of this tabernacle. That it is not referring to just a physical tabernacle, but rather an inner spiritual sanctuary that a person must learn to construct within their own heart as the dwelling place for the presence of God. The heart is the Mishkan for the Shekhinah. And it is inside of the heart that a person feels the presence of God. So we see from here that all of these rules and the instructions and these detailed list of ingredients and resources that are required in order to build this Mishkan are really metaphors and signs for certain midot, character traits, and personalities and attributes that a person must learn to refine themselves to build this vessel, this container for the light of Hashem. Now let's connect some of the things that we're learning from Talmud Eser Sefirot with this parsha. Because if we count the amount of resources and the list of ingredients that Hashem commands Moses to collect from the people to build this sanctuary, we get 13. Yud Gimel. 13 ingredients corresponding to the 13 attributes of mercy. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be He, is a merciful God. He's compassionate. He's slow to anger. He's abundant in kindness and truth. He funnels chesed, kindness, for thousands of generations. He is a forgiver of sin, rebellion, and iniquity, and He cleanses. Those are the 13 attributes of God's mercy. And we learned in the series of Talmud Eser Sefirot that there are two types of light in every single partsuf. Light of Chokhmah and light of Chasadim. The light of Chokhmah is the light of God. That's the wisdom of the Torah, which comes from God. That is the goal of our spiritual work, to receive the light of Chokhmah, which is the light of Ein Sof. However, there's a second type of light called light of Chasadim. Light of Chasadim is the libush, the clothing, the garment for the light of Chokhmah. In order for a person to merit the light of Chokhmah, he needs to first construct a vessel that is made of the light of Chasadim. The light of Chasadim is the kli, is the vessel that allows a person to receive the light of Chokhmah. Without the light of Chasadim, a person cannot receive the light of God, which is the goal of our spiritual work. So the question is, what is the light of Chasadim? What is this light of kindness? Literally, we translate light of Chasadim as light of kindness. Kindness, that sounds like something that comes from my heart. Kindness is not something you learn intellectually. It's something you practice emotionally, in the way that you deal with others, in the way you treat people, treat yourself, the way you relate to Hashem on an emotional level. Not just intellectual, and also not just physical. But where's your heart? And that's exactly the point. What is the light of Chasadim? It's these 13 attributes of mercy that we've explained. Each of the 13 supplies that are listed in this week's portion in the construction of the tabernacle correspond to one of these 13 attributes of mercy. That is the vessel. That is the tabernacle for the light of God. And that's the secret behind this verse when it says, "They shall make for me a sanctuary, and I shall dwell among them." That means, make for me a vessel of chesed. Embody the attributes of mercy. These 13 attributes. Make for me this sanctuary, which is built from 13 attributes of mercy. And when you do, I will dwell among them, meaning I will dwell among the sanctuaries that each of us are going to build. And when enough Jews, when enough people of Israel construct this inner sanctuary, we will merit to build the actual, true, and final sanctuary known as the third and final Beit HaMikdash in the city of Jerusalem in our lifetimes. But it depends on this inyan, that we need to each go within and exercise mercy, exercise compassion, exercise patience, forgiveness, etc., etc. That is the vessel for the light of Chokhmah. If a person wants to receive the consciousness of the Torah, which is the consciousness of the soul, which comes from God, which is part of God, then they must first prepare a vessel that is capable of receiving that light. There are many different types of light, wavelengths. I'm talking about physical here. Infrared, ultraviolet, etc., that we are simply unable to perceive with our eyes because we simply lack the vessel. We lack the capability in the makeup of our eyes to be able to perceive those wavelengths. But there are many wavelengths that we cannot perceive with our eyes. Similarly, the light of Chokhmah exists right here, right now. But we cannot receive it. We cannot perceive it. Why? Because we haven't yet built our vessels. The same way that you can build tools and technology to allow you to measure and perceive ultraviolet and infrared, etc., different types of lights, we need to build the technology that we refer to as the sanctuary, the Mishkan. The Mishkan is a tool. It's a technology that allows you to tap into the light of Chokhmah, which is this light of the Shekhinah that God promises He will dwell among us if we build. The promise is that if we build this vessel, if we build this sanctuary, He will dwell among us. It's not an empty promise. It's not upon God to see it through. It's upon us to build this vessel so we can experience it for ourselves. You don't need to take my word for it. You don't need to take the Torah's word for it. Go and build it and see for yourself. The light of Chokhmah is there within you. But you can only perceive it once you build this vessel. Once you construct this Mishkan, which is built by 13 attributes. 13 attributes of mercy. Now, these attributes of mercy are the attributes of God. When you emulate them, you are aligning your form with God. You are becoming more similar to God. You are becoming closer to God. When you emulate these attributes, you are actually becoming more godly. And it is for that reason that you are able to receive the light of Chokhmah, because you are a worthy kli for the light of Chokhmah. You are a trusted associate of Hashem. It's in the attributes, the main work that we have to do here in this world, is in our attributes, which is symbolized by this Mishkan. And all of the laws and all of the instructions that are given over to Moses in detail in this Parsha are metaphors that teach you how to build this Mishkan. According to Kabbalah, this is the Parsha that teaches you how to build this Mishkan. So, this is the main message of the Parsha. A lot of people get sidetracked by all the various laws and they think that it's so technical and that it's a very boring portion. But when you understand this very deep and very relevant nugget and you reread the portion, even though you may not be able to understand how each and every detail is connected to this inyan, it will reveal to you a tremendous amount of information and secrets and hints and clues that are packed in within the narrative of this week's portion. And it will show you how it correlates to building your attributes and your character traits. Because that's the only way to receive the light of Chokhmah. There is no other way for the light of Chokhmah to permeate a person except by first clothing itself in the light of Chasadim. That's the light of kindness. When you reveal the kindness within your own heart, that becomes a vessel to receive the light of Chokhmah, which is the divine wisdom of your soul, which is part of God. So thank you so much for watching this video. It was a little bit shorter and more to the point. Sometimes it's good to be a little bit more succinct to let the nugget really digest. Please share this video with other people so they can also benefit from the message in this week's Parsha. I appreciate your watching and I'll see you in the next video.